whenever you're set, you've got the floor.
My name is Scott Glennon. Thank you all so much for your participation one way or another in this event. I'm taking a class here at Metropolitan State University of Denver called The History of Black Theater in America, taught by Professor Grady Willis. I would like to take an opportunity to talk about this class. What is black theater? That's actually the mission of the class, to discover what is black theater. As you can see, I'm white, so why did I take the class? Truthfully, I needed the credit. But now I know I've always needed the knowledge. The history of black theater is not all about the white devil or white privilege. I would not have stayed enrolled if it was. It's the history of living with oppression and the works that come from the oppressed. The relationships, the dialogues, the stereotypes of the past are spoken about with foresight gained for those in the present. Is racism alive today? Of course it is. Sometimes subtle, sometimes forceful, yet something we all must deal with. In this class, it brings those moments to a conversation. I recently experienced an assignment by Professor Grady Willis that sent me on a mission that shocked, astounded, annoyed, angered, and opened a new understanding within me to the question of what is black theater. Professor Grady Willis's assignment made me look at black theater's past and today's future, and it scared me. It might scare you too. I will now share a part of my assignment from this class. There are over 24 libraries in the Denver district area, and in these libraries are thousands of books, so I was not concerned in the least when given an assignment to read a play called Who's Got His Own by Ron Milner, written in 1964. Why should I worry? Mr. Milner has over 15 published works, and a musical that had a run on the coveted Broadway. Mr. Milner gained acclaim for his playwriting and promoting of recognition of African Americans in a time of civil shifting in America. Ron Milner even has one of those distinctions that clearly demonstrates his relevance and ability to write about the shifting times by writing a play in 1974 called What the Wine Sellers Buy, and it became the first play by an African American to be produced at the New York Shakespeare Festival at the Lincoln Center. Mr. Milner was obviously part of a great fecundating matrix where he grew up. The organic groundswell for African American equality was strong in Milner's Detroit, as evidenced by the Detroit riots in 1967. As we all know, riots just don't happen. They're created like bonfires. Years upon years of sticks stacked high, just waiting for a spark. Well, growing up in Detroit, Milner lived and was in the hub of stick stacking for a bonfire because he was in his hometown of Detroit presenting his works as early as 1959. He was there living and supporting the Detroit community after the riots. So clearly, he should be recognized nationally for having been in the moment of social change, creating work that can be studied and learned and relived and shared for knowledge in today's society as well as being presented on the stage as current. This project is going to be a breeze, I say to myself. Finding a play by Ron Milner should be no problem, especially when Who's Got His Own has been placed in a black drama anthology 1972. And if we turn to the concise Oxford Companion to African American Literature, we see that this anthology, as described as perhaps Milner's most significant contribution to the field of African American letters, is Black Drama Anthology 1972, co-edited with Woody King. One of the earliest and certainly one of the most respected anthologies of black plays. It documented important works by Milner, Amiri Baraka, Ed Bolins, and Langston Hughes, among others. Well, this book's obviously going to be easy to find and readily available, I say to myself. Back to the Denver Library and its many books. 0 copies of the play exist in play version, but as a theater person, that's all right. I've come to expect this with plays. But there's always that anthology, right? There is only one copy of the Black Drama Anthology in the Denver library system. In the entire Denver library system, one copy. I try to use the technology of the day to place a hole in the book that I am denied, due to the fact that this particular book is being held at one reference desk. I can find Milner's play at one specific branch in Denver called the Blair Caldwell African American Library Research Library, where one must make the journey to 2401 Welton Street in order to experience the book firsthand. My first thought is, why is this book being held captive at a reference desk? This is a book filled with great African American playwrights, and it is not being circulated to those who seek it? My second thought is, this must be some book, right? I mean, the Denver Library is always promoting diversity on posters, so this book must be a real jewel to the library system if it is kept in a specific African American research library. I can't help but assume the book will be designated with gold lining, and I just hope, due to the line of people waiting to read it, I'll be able to see it myself. As I make the 7-mile trek across town, I assume that no black people live on the south or west or east side of Denver. Otherwise, the Blair Caldwell Library might have been put in the middle of town. But that is another conversation for another paper. Upon arrival at the library, I find that due to snow, the library is closed. Upon my second arrival at the research library, I make my way to the second floor of the Blair Caldwell African American Research Library, but it turns out, however, that there is no line at the library with people waiting to read the book. After scanning the shelves for one of the most respected anthologies of black plays, you cannot imagine my disappointment and anger at finding a small print, well-worn paperback. No hardcover, no book sleeve, just a regular old paperback. I went online and found that the book would cost me 99 cents to buy plus $3.99 shipping. So here's my question. What if I was 18 years old, black, white, indifferent, lived 7 miles from 2401 Welton Street, had no car, no internet, no bus fare, but a desire to read and soak up great black minds? This is a book tragedy. The voices of the past to guide the future are being forsaken. So join me in my plea, Denver Library, please. Do not purchase just 3 new DVDs next month, and instead purchase 15 used copies of the Black Anthology 1972 and advertise them by placing them in view in a majority of your branches. Blair Caldwell, African American Research Library, is not doing this research. Research centers and museums do not have to curate over death. This is a book anthology that should be treated as positive propaganda and celebrated by being circulated, not chained down to reference desk status. Is making a trip to the library for a reference book that costs 99 cents worth me joining the vernacular spectacular and making a fuss over? Could traveling 7 miles by car, or bus fare, or foot cause bruising to my soul? Should I have the right to bemoan an overstrained library system that provides plenty of other services and books? That all depends. Have you ever taken the history of black theater in America and realized after 3.5 decades you've never seen these people? I refuse to believe that Ron Milner is alone. So, in conclusion, Professor Grady Willis's class, The History of Black Theater in America, has opened my eyes to many things that I have taken for granted or was completely ignorant about in my own life. I recommend you take her class, whether you need it for the credit or not. I only fear that after my experiences, she soon may ask her students, what was black theater? Thank you.